Users of Reddit, what's a company secret you can share now that you don't work there? I worked at a comic book store that offered a service where you paid a small premium to have sent in rare comics to have them graded at CGC. A few months later we had many customers coming in to check the status of their comics. We contacted the owner to see what was going on, and he would always claim that there was some distribution problem. Fast forward a few months, we found out he was taking customers' graded copies and selling them online while trying to return back issue versions of their original comics. How did this dude think that comic collectors who were sending in comics to be graded wouldn't recognize they weren't receiving their original comic back? Lol. I'm sure a few newer to the hobby wouldn't be the wiser, but man, that's what we all said. My friend and I were managers and had absolutely no idea this was happening. It was a smaller town comic shop and all the customers sending in comics to be graded were good friends of ours. But the plot gets thicker. Turns out his wife was signed for the business, so the owner wasn't really the owner. We called her and explained what was happening. She was in tears. She came to shop to meet the wronged customers and she took graded comics from the owner's collection and let the customers pick out comics to equal to the value of their graded comics in return for the mishap. Fast forward a few months, she closed the store, gave us our paychecks and even some I'm sorry money. It turns out the guy was doing all kinds of other shady-s. She divorced him, and I'm like 99% sure he went to jail for fraud. He's also banned from CGC and all of the licensed big comic cons lol. So don't worry, he lost that battle. At least it sounds like his wife was a decent person and tried to make it right, because yeesh. I am so sad for her though. Running a comic shop was probably her dream, only for it to be ruined by the person who should have had her back the most being a complete piece of s. All new clothing and everything you try on is dirty. I've worked in retail for years and it still shocks people, but there's no washing machine or disinfectant spray or wipes. Nothing. I've opened boxes of new clothes that had white bugs coming out of it. Seen woman after a workout class come and try clothes on then just leave still sweaty from the class. One older lady left dime-size skin flakes in the clothes she tried on. Not to mention whatever happens when they return the item or what happened in the factory. People are gross, nothing is clean, always wash your clothes when you get them home. Had someone steal a new bra and put their dirtier bra back on the rack, I threw it out. People have s inside of fitting rooms and to this day all new clothes bought are immediately washed. Everyone looks at me and I say the day you work in retail you will understand that humans are far more disgusting than animals. The vehicle modification shop at Chillicothe Correctional Institution in Chillicothe, Ohio dumps waste coolant from the machine shop into a storm drain that empties directly into the Scioto River, because the chemical disposal tank is a 55-gallon drum in the paint shop, and that's much too small. They can't throw me into solitary confinement for complaining anymore. Edit, this happens about once a year, when the machine's coolant reservoirs are emptied and the coolant replaced. It's not on a schedule, it's one of those things that you do when work is slow. Each machine holds 15 to 20 gallons, and usually you just add more as it evaporates, but eventually it gets nasty and needs replaced. It's supposed to go in a waste tote to be disposed of safely, which is what every non-government machine shop does. Being able to prove this is being done would require knowing when they're going to do this, and that's a decision that's often made spur of the moment. Hey, work is slow, let's have a cleanup day. There aren't any phones in the machine shop, either. Edit 2, a container to store the waste properly costs $200. Why waste taxpayer money when we can just poison the taxpayers instead? I don't think it's a bad secret at all. But back in college, I delivered pizzas for Papa John's. The store manager must have had an undiagnosed case of OCD or germophobia or something. Because every night, he would assign someone to do the cleaning duties, mopping floors, double-checking expiration dates / throwing away expired stuff, etc. And every night, he would absolutely lose his temper and berate WH there was doing the cleaning. They were going too fast, they weren't cleaning everything, whatever. After that, he'd always take over the cleaning himself. He was amazingly picky about the cleanliness and food quality. Expiration date is 3 days from now? Fuck that, I'll order more. Throw the tess away, we're not serving it. He would also go out of pocket to buy special cleaning products because that worthless bulls that corporate wants us to use doesn't get the job done. He also went out of pocket to hire some kind of specialist to clean out the fountain drink dispenser, ice machine and all that stuff. The machine needs to always be as close to brand new as possible. One standout moment for me was when he reduced a cashier to tears by hollering, "Would you eat off this floor?" No? Then it's not clean enough. He wasn't telling her to eat off the floor. He was just making a point. After we'd closed the store, he'd kick all of us out, lock up behind us and stay until something like 2 a.m. cleaning the place. You always knew when he closed because you could smell the chemical scent still lingering in the air. The end result of this was the store, the food, the equipment and the facilities were always in squeaky clean condition. Customers, somehow, picked up on what a perfectionist the store manager was and bought from us all the time. Because there's a lot of peace of mind that goes in with knowing your food was cooked by someone willing to throw ingredients away before the expiration date, stay in the store until God knows when cleaning everything, etc. The true irony was how much the boss hated himself because he didn't think he was doing a good enough job to run a clean restaurant with fresh ingredients. It didn't matter how many compliments he got from customers or how many service industry veterans said they'd never worked in a place as obsessive about freshness and cleanliness as his Papa John's store, he was convinced his store was still a filthy barn. Eventually, he got promoted to some kind of higher level corporate position, district manager. That required him to visit other stores and make sure they were all up to spec. The end result of that was a lot of stores in this area all improved seemingly overnight. Ford parts from Mexico are way more reliable than Ford parts from Detroit, or at least they were before 2020. I worked in Detroit and we had some customers who were fussy about us always doing repairs with Michigan parts, but when we had a problem that wouldn't stay fixed we would always secretly switch to the Mexican parts, which did solve things. I was a prison guard a decade ago and we installed some facial tracking software in the surveillance cameras. One of the inmates panicked while cleaning the unused solitary confinement cells, which is usually a desirable job. It's easy as F and nobody pays attention to you, and he insisted that he be moved out of that job because there was a ghost. The ranking officers decided to check the new cameras, and the security software claimed it saw a face behind the inmate at the same time as he was visibly startled in the camera footage. We're all aware there are mundane reasons why a new facial recognition system would think it saw a ghost, but since the inmate and the security software both thought there was a ghost, it was decided that the inmate should be immediately transferred at no penalty. Dang, it would suck being the one who ended up in solitary confinement in that cell, lol. I mean, at least you wouldn't be lonely. Worked at a American Toyota dealership in the body shop for 12 years. We would throw away literally everything regardless of the environmental impact. Car paint, which is nasty SBTW, went straight to the dumpster. Radiator fluid? Down the drain. I even saw someone put oil down the drain a couple times even though we had barrels for it up in the service department. The only thing we saved was old car parts, which the boss then sold to scrap yards and pocketed the money. The painter didn't ever wear a mask either. He is around 60 and still kicking despite 30 years of painting without a mask somehow. I worked at General Motors in the paint department for a while before moving to final repair. I found it that guys that wanted to commit suicide but wanted to take care of their family's future would volunteer to work in the clear coat booth. They would be seen in there with no mask on. The stuff would crystallize on their lungs. No way to save you after that. Usually took a year. I'll say it. A place similar in name to Past Face Urgent Care, at least in the region I worked at, banned their front desk from informing customers that they have a credit balance to use toward their services and still required us to charge customers the full price on top of what we already owed them. Some accounts had like $500 of copay that should have been refunded but weren't. I was actually reprimanded for applying the credit balance, because despite finance agreeing my method was correct, the regional manager said it was not a good look for the company and hindered her profits. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't even understand what you're saying here and how they could be owed copay. I worked for a doctor's office that owed thousands of dollars to patients. After I gathered all the info on what was owed, I was laid off. I'm talking a week after I finished the audits. I wonder if any of them were paid. I worked at a Petco in Alaska. Apparently brown/black mice are not allowed up here. Only white mice. We got a shipment in of a bunch of black/brown mice and had to take them to the vet to be killed. Also, the animals are literally shipped in on a UPS truck and delivered in packages. I would open a package and it would be full of fish or mice or snakes. You never knew what was coming. It was wild. Luckily my shift manager was a really good person. She tried her best to help any sick animal and was super diligent about keeping the cages really clean. She would stay after hours to care for the sick animal in the back and double down on cleaning. When upper management came, they didn't give us how clean anything was. They would yell at us to get more customers to sign up for pet rewards. If I didn't pester every single person checking out, they would get angry and give me point deductions. I have no idea what the deductions even did. One of the upper managers watched me for like 3 hours when I was at the register. He said I wasn't pushy enough on getting people to donate/sign up for S. Bitch, I will ask once and if they say no I am not asking again. That S is annoying AF. He also got mad at me when I didn't clean the birdcage fast enough. It took time away from the register. I'm sorry, I don't want our birds to stand in their own S for hours, so yeah, I'ma take my time to scrub that S clean. Also, don't buy fish from Petco. Pretty much every shipment that came in they were all infected with ICK. Basically half our tanks were in quarantine. We had several customers come back saying we killed their entire fish tank because of a fish we sold them. Frick Petco. I used to work as a receptionist at an upscale salon. While I was there, the salon introduced a new line of products marketed towards men. Up until that point most of our products were marketed towards women, but the execs saw that we were getting more male customers. Every item in the men's product line was about half the cost of our other products. The men's shampoo was the exact same shampoo the salon had been selling for years, but because they put it in black packaging with the word man on it, it was half the price. The owner's explanation was, well, men don't want to pay that much for hair products. For the rest of the time I worked there, every time a woman came up to buy that shampoo I'd tell her that the men's shampoo was the exact same product for half the price. This isn't a company secret, but I worked part-time at a Domino's franchise in college. The owner was, at first glance, a short-tempered, critical penny pincher who did everything he could to save business money, right down to watching over your shoulder to make sure you didn't put too much cheese on a pizza. Cheese is called white gold in the pizza industry, even back in 2002. But after working for him for a while, you realized why he was so specific about the margins. Twice yearly, he would send out generous bonuses, in the form of money orders made out to his employees from his own personal savings account, to the college students working for him. The checks/money orders contained the memo line "Keep learning." The amount of the money orders would be directly correlated to the profit margins of the stores he owned. The dude did legit profit sharing. After I graduated, I heard a rumor that he was trying to start up a small education grant trust that would benefit applicants of the Farmer School of Business at Miami University, but I don't think anything ever came of it. This owner also played favorites when hiring. Every single one of his managers was a former employee. 3 of the 4 managers at his stores when I worked there had graduated from my college with business degrees. All 4 of them had a small portion of their education paid for by Marvin Covington. Marvin Covington, Oxford, Ohio Domino's owner from Vevey, Indiana, died in 2017. That dude knew how to do business, and do it right. It would be a very sweet idea if you guys could band together to establish some sort of bursary for the school in his memory. Dude was clearly very passionate about education, and in this day and age it's nigh impossible to find someone in management who actually cares about their staff enough to profit share. If the staff are largely business grads, surely some of them have managed to make enough money in their careers that this could be possible. It would be a great way to honor his memory. Home Depot, most security cameras are fake. Easy to steal, and most stores have no security/loss prevention. Buy the clearance items that end in 3 cents. After that, the next step of the markdown process is the dumpster. Dial 676 on any desk phone to live page on the overhead speakers. Fun to mess with that. Buy the products in front, it's newer. The old product gets pushed behind continuously. If you see a reduced tag item, usually larger items, appliances, vanities, etc. with slight damage, ask someone to scan for the price. Most times they're not updated and will be cheaper than the tag says. Free bottles of water for customers behind the customer service desk. I can assure you Home Depot has very real cameras, and they have a lot more loss prevention than you think. Source: I was arrested from Home Depot. There's a whole section in your training about me.